Hey TV fans, Bored Now back with you. On this video I'm going to be talking about Fatal Attraction Season 1 Episode 2. The episode is called The Movie in Your Mind. Pretty dull, this episode, I've got to say, even though it's the episode where Alex and Dan finally hook up and things start to happen. He starts to see a darker side to her personality. It's still a really plodding episode. I'm still not feeling that spark between them. The sex scenes are okay, but they're kind of lame. They're just doing this sort of slow motion sort of thing. And once again, I don't think there's a lot of chemistry. Like, they're trying to convince us it's this dangerous relationship and it's all sexy and exciting, but I'm just not feeling it in the scenes, and there's some pretty awful dialogue at times in this episode, quite a lot of mumbling from Dan and some monologues. Once again, the legal stuff isn't really doing it for me. That just feels like filler stuff because they maybe have to pad out the episode. MVP of the episode is definitely Toby Huss as the work colleague Mike, who we saw a bit of in the first episodes, but he's in this one more. Quite an effective dynamic, like the three of them, including the other guy, Frank, the other main guy, who's sort of in that group of characters, and they all have their own thing going on, because Frank's the more douchey one who keeps cheating on his wife, and at one point he tries to use staying late at work as an excuse to see another woman. Slowly starts to act like that, because the irony is later in the episode he does just that. He lies to Beth while he sneaks off with Alex. So you sort of have the Toby Huss character Mike, who's the more solid, down to earth, grounded guy with the wisdom and experience, and he just knows from one encounter between Alex and Dan, then they're seeing each other, and he's like, don't screw me about, I can tell what's going on here. And you can see he's disapproving, because as we see in the present, he's a family friend. He knows the mother and daughter as well, so he's definitely more of a moral compass for Dan in this one. But Toby Huss is a really good actor, underrated if anything. He just has this really world weary sort of charisma to him, very sort of sly, very deadpan, but very warm and engaging to watch. He is definitely the highlight of this episode, and we're going to be seeing more of him, because we learn in the present scene then try to look into the case and prove that he's innocent, because Dan asks him for the file, the case file, so they can start studying it, and he says it's already in my garage. So clearly he has this history with Dan, and he has this belief that his long-term friend is innocent. Ellen's very conflicted in the episode. She's starting to question whether she should keep meeting Dan. Beth doesn't want any part of it, says it's a bad idea because it's too much of a risk. You spent that time in the past trying to prove this stuff and it didn't work out, so why take the gamble again? Why let Alex take more years of your life away, potentially? Whereas the daughter Ellen seems more open to it. So yeah, Mike is a solid character, and I like the actor, so we're going to be seeing more of him, I think, which is no bad thing. But in general, this episode was really dull. I'm not feeling the stuff with Ellen in the present yet, her and Dan. All of her scenes really drawn out, because she keeps listening to these podcasts, and it's these philosophizing podcasts where they're talking about confrontation, and it's meant to be mirroring the stuff she's going through and the hesitation to meet her father again, because at one point he's expecting her to meet him for coffee, and you see her watching him from across the street, and she doesn't take a call there's this random scene where she gets knocked over by a guy on the road, but it's just on one of these like scooter style skateboards, and Dan just happens to be there and like picks her up and says, dust yourself down, I'll take you for a coffee just to get your composure. So I don't know if he set that up. It could be that he set that up because it just seems very coincidental. Then this guy out of nowhere knocks her down and Dan just happens to be there. So I think that could be where we're going, where he maybe paid someone and set that up to like force an encounter with his daughter maybe. So clearly we're going to get more of that, but there's a lot of like legal stuff in the past which isn't very interesting. So when things start to happen with Alex and with Dan, wording for her and gets her like a case, and then you get the stuff with them finally going all the way where the flirtation starts. They get this thing with the sprinklers randomly going off at the bar, almost like this like show's version of a meet cute, and as I said, they start having sex, start seeing each other, and there's just little hints throughout the episode that Alex is starting to act a bit weird, because when Dan gives her some personal information or like past information about a case when they're at the bar, she has a little bit of a weird reaction there, but I think it's meant to just show that she is a little bit dangerous and edgy. Unfortunately, I'm not really getting that across from the performance or the way these scenes are directed, but that's the point of that scene. Together one night and he starts to go home, says he's got to get home. She like has a mood swing then and like teases that she's taken too many pills and might be on the verge of suicide, but we're not quite sure if that's a thing. So he drives her to the hospital, and he points out then if you did try to commit suicide, you could be fired. So she like changes tack and like says, "Take me home." But once again, it just seems like a manipulative tactic. Really seemed that convincing in the episode, like that transition. Not to me anyway. As I said, there's a couple of really bad bits of dialogue in the episode, and like one of them which was like hilariously bad, like a bad taste line, did make me laugh, is when the jerky work colleague Frank says at the bar, like, because he's having a fit over like the barman saying, you know, there's no tab for you, and he says, I want you to get arse cancer, you chicken dick. It's one of those hilariously bad lines. It did give me like a rare moment where I laughed in the episode. And there's a really cheesy toe curling line from Alex when they sort of have their second get together, and you can see it coming, but like they go up on the roof and it's really windy, and Dan comments on that, and Alex is like, yeah, fuck wind, and that's her line. So that was more on the cheesy bad side. So that's episode 2 anyway. Not very good. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Like and subscribe as always, and I'll see you guys again soon. Take care. Goodbye.